We're talking about how to go out into the market, your entire pool of potential prospects, how to magnetize them to your business, people that don't yet know you, they don't yet know about your product or service, they don't yet know that you exist, how to magnetize those people into your business. Because if you can go out into the market and get leads, that is how you create not only a reliable, a sustainable, but a scalable business that can run and grow without you, ultimately.
Every single word should have a purpose, and every single word should get the person to want to read the next word, and every sentence, the next sentence.
What works on LinkedIn 95% of the time works really well in email, as you mentioned, with a few small tweaks, right? But it has to be in that flow: direct outreach, paid ads, and then content marketing.
Welcome to the Takeover with Tim and Cindy, where we show you how to dominate every area of life and business. Let's get winning.
What is going on? Welcome to the Takeover with Tim and Cindy. Today, we're going to show you how to magnetize your market with awesome lead generation. And we're not just talking about a little here, drips here, up and down, feast or famine. We're talking about growth month over month, year over year. And we've had our best months historically in December because we're up and up and up and up. So the strategy we're going to walk you through here isn't a little bit, this is a nice little thing to add on. We're going to talk about how do you scale fast, and even keep scaling in months like November and December when a lot of the marketplace has checked out. So I'm really excited to go through this. This is part 2 in a 5-part series. If you're already watching the series, we're doing a full 5-part series on how to grow and scale a business that can run and grow without you, and even become a business that you could exit. This is part 2, and it's really the first of 4 steps to grow and scale a business. And this is lead generation. So Cindy, we've done work with over 700 businesses and entrepreneurs, and we've trained tens of thousands of entrepreneurs and businesses on how to grow and scale. Most of them come in with a lot of confusion around what channels, what strategies they should go to. And it's actually pretty straightforward and clear, the step-by-step on what you would do to grow and scale a business, either from zero or for, if somebody's already at, 6, 7, 8 figures. So where would you think about the first step and then how to go from there when it comes to generating leads?
Yes, absolutely. The first step that we would go for in terms of channels specifically, because a lot of people have confusion around where do you start, right? Which channel is the best to secure leads consistently? And we'd start with direct outreach. It's with outbound. The reason being is because outbound is low cost. It allows you to test your systems and perfect your systems for not only lead generation, but also on the sales side, right? Because if you have leads coming in consistently, you can perfect your sales process, you can perfect your messaging, you can identify which audience or which industries perform best. So what I love about outbound is it allows you to really narrow down on what your ideal client or ideal customer avatar is, which with a lot of different channels costs a lot of money to figure that out. With outbound, through testing, through perfecting your systems, you can distill the data down to what industries perform best, what messaging performs best, what is my ideal client in terms of maybe revenue, company size, all of that good stuff, so that you can then, once you've perfected your systems through outbound, you can then move into other channels like paid ads, right? Paid ads, you have to spend money to test. You have to have revenue to test paid ads. But starting with outbound, now moving into paid ads, you have more data and information on who responds, on who's buying, on who your ideal client avatar is, versus trying to start there first. Trust me, you're going to spend a lot of money on ads, on testing, if you are starting off with paid ads, which is where a lot of people go wrong. They want to start with Facebook ads. They want to start with Google ads. They want to start with a lot of paid channels, which is great and all, but you're going to spend a lot more money if you haven't done outbound first.
Yeah. And even the sales process, because your profit margins are so much better on outbound that you can kind of, your cost per meeting, cost per client acquisition is a lot lower with outbound. So you can actually kind of make mistakes with outbound,
direct outreach,
and with outbound and direct outreach. You can kind of make mistakes as you're building your sales process, your warm-up process, your nurture sequences, all of that, and you're still going to be profitable. With ads, if you don't have that stuff dialed in right to the get-go, I mean, Google, Meta, they will drain your bank account faster, faster than you can get clients. That's for sure. And what I love about what you said about this is once that's dialed in, you take all the data, the information, and now you can run ads with it and pay. And that's the same thing with the sales process. You can take your sales process, your nurture sequences, all of the information you've learned about being directly connected to and reaching out to these prospects. You just have so much more data that I don't think you would get that kind of granular person-to-person data, even if you did ads from the get-go and you had a bunch of money to spend, because when you're doing direct outreach and you're reaching out to people directly, you're having conversations with them through email, through calls, through all these different pieces that you're learning about that avatar in such a powerful way and we've seen every time you have a successful outreach, outbound campaign going and you get it working and dialed in, you then go run an ad campaign and it just performs super well.
Because you have data.
Yep.
You have data to back it up. Absolutely.
And for our industry, we have one of the highest performing paid ad funnels for sales meetings, and we had that right off the bat when we first launched our ad funnel, because we had all the data, we had so much one-on-one with the prospects, and we had the sales process dialed in so well.
Even to point to that too, it's messaging that performs really well in direct outreach. Nuances of messages of, why do people say yes to this versus something else? When you do a lot of A/B testing in direct outreach, it also translates really well to paid funnels or paid ads, because you've tested this type of message performs really well for my audience. And as you've perfected that, you move that into paid ads. That's why it performs so well, so fast. So, ladies and gents, what we're suggesting here is if you want to scale and you want to do it efficiently, in a way that's cost effective and that gets you maximum results, we recommend that you start with direct outreach. And direct outreach is simply reaching out directly to your ideal prospects, be it in their LinkedIn inbox, sending them a direct message, in their email, it's in Instagram or Facebook, direct messages, because that is going to give you the data that we're talking about here, which can then translate into paid ads. And once you start running paid ads, the next step after that would then be content marketing.
Yeah.
So that is kind of the sequence or the flow that I would go in scaling to generate leads, whether you are just starting out or you already have some of these pieces in place and you're doing really well. Outbound or direct outreach gives you low cost per meeting or low client acquisition cost. Then move to paid ads where you can really scale up by spending more money. Then moving into content marketing where you can now build more authority, and all of them kind of feed into each other, right? But it has to be in that flow: direct outreach, paid ads, and then content marketing.
Yeah. And the thing is because we already kind of talked about the value of going direct outreach, outbound to paid ads. But by the time you get to the content marketing, it's a slower strategy, but it's really powerful. All the lessons you've learned from outbound outreach and now paid ads and getting clicks and getting really granular on what little words. Now, when you go to create a YouTube video, you know exactly how to create a thumbnail that can have a high click-through rate. You know exactly what you're so in the head of your prospects. You know exactly what kind of content that they need help with. And so what I love about this, by the time you get here, is you're not going to become a massive influencer overnight. Like, this takes a long time. So when you have your direct outreach and your ads performing, you can be there's people that have built 9-figure companies on just that first one, just direct outreach.
Yeah.
There's people that have, built 8-figure companies on paid ads and so on and so forth. So you can build a really big company with those too. But what's powerful is now when you start to do content marketing, while you're building for that long-term big brand, big strategy, big authority to generate leads, you're actually creating assets to give to prospects before they become customers. So actually, at this point, when you're now creating great content marketing, not only you're creating it really good because it's really based off of all of the data you have, but now you're actually creating content that can warm up prospects. You can create content that your sales team can use to educate your prospect and warm them up. So the beautiful thing about doing this outbound first, outreach first, then paid ads, and then content marketing is the content marketing, although it's a long-term play if you want it to be a lead generation source, because you have so much flow already in the business, content marketing actually becomes an asset that will increase your conversion and your sales rates because it's a tool and fuel to use in the nurture, warm up, and follow up sequences.
So good. So good. Yes, absolutely.
So let's talk about how do you get leads with direct outreach. We've kind of walked through the why start here, but let's talk about the practicals of how. How do we execute this?
Yes, absolutely. So with direct outreach, ladies and gents, you need three main things. One, you need a target pool or a list of people that you're going to reach out to. Remember, you're directly reaching out to them, direct outreach. Second, you need really good messaging. And we're going to give you some examples of the type of messaging that you can run here. And then third, you need repeatable systems, right? So we see a lot of lead generation efforts fail because some people you'll try it for maybe a month or two and then stop, or, you'll maybe do a few reach outs, but not do that many. So you don't have any data. Where the repeatable systems come into play is where you can consistently generate leads week over week, month over month, which gives you more data, which then of course means you get more leads as you start to refine the system. So let's start off with step one, which is the target pool. Your target pool is the list of prospects you are going to reach out to. In this example, I'm going to talk specifically about, say, LinkedIn. Okay. We use LinkedIn to generate meetings, sales appointments, so much for our clients. I mean, we've done it at such a large scale that it's a great place to start if you're going to do direct outreach. Great place to start. So what I'm going to do on LinkedIn is I'm going to go onto LinkedIn and I'm going to create a search or a target pool of people that I can really easily reach out to. Okay. And at first, it's going to be assumptions that I'm going to make on who I believe my ideal prospect is. Maybe it's based on clients that I've worked well with in the past. Maybe it's based on ideal prospects I think I could help, right? So there's going to be a lot of assumptions up front, which is why we say your target pool should be large enough up front to kind of test some of these assumptions that you have. Okay. So you could select the type of titles that you want to reach out to. You can select industries on LinkedIn. You can select company sizes. So you want to distill your target pool down with certain parameters. And we always say have a minimum of at least 20,000 prospects in your initial list or target pool. Now, what I'm going to do with this list, so say, for example, I am a marketing agency and I've distilled it down to, I want to reach out to CEOs and founders of 11 to 200 company sizes, right? The employee count in the industries of manufacturing and retail. And I want to target active audiences, meaning on LinkedIn, I'm simply going to put posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days. That's going to give me a very active search. That is my target pool, and potentially it comes out to maybe 20 to 50,000 prospects. Okay. So that's step one. I've identified the list of people that I want to reach out to.
And I think just right there, if y'all didn't catch it, Cindy, you actually just gave some real secret sauce on how to get just a really solid search.
Yes.
Right there. So if you didn't catch that, you didn't take notes on that, rewind just a little bit right now and take notes on what she just said there, because that's actually very actionable steps that a lot of people miss on how to do a couple little tweaks that people can make there. And even just that active search, active in 30 days, that alone will make a massive difference when you're doing outreach.
Yes, absolutely. And we're going into the details here, ladies and gents, because we want to give you very actionable strategies. So for sure, listen in on the details because we're going deep with these. So you have your target pool. So if, for example, I am a coach, here's another example. Maybe I want to reach out to C-suite execs, right? I want to reach out to executives on LinkedIn. I can put the titles as say CEOs, vice presidents, president. I can select the industries that I want to target. Maybe I want to do financial services and banking. Okay. Then I want to do the location. Maybe I want to do US and Canada. Post it on LinkedIn in the last 30 days. So the way I'm painting the picture for you, ladies and gents, is how to start to really put together a target pool or target search of people that would potentially be your ideal clients. Okay. Understand that about 80% of them should be a potential fit. If you're looking through the pages on LinkedIn, you're seeing, these are probably not my best ideals. You can start to refine a little bit more upfront, but just make sure that you understand there's a lot of assumptions that you're making initially. And as you start to actually message these people, that's where you're going to test your assumptions to see what do they actually resonate with? Is this my ideal client? Is it not? So there's a lot of testing that happens up front.
So, I mean, the target pool, I think an advanced thing that we're going to give people here, and we've never shared this anywhere outside, but if you're doing outreach LinkedIn and you're doing outreach email, if you target the same audience on email with an active, you're going to find that active in 30 is actually going to give you really high quality, high responsive emails too.
Yes, absolutely.
And so what we're talking about here for LinkedIn, when you get something working really well on LinkedIn, duplicating that with a cold email outreach is incredibly easy. And you're going to attract different people in LinkedIn than you're going to attract in email. So we always start with LinkedIn if possible, because we can get results a little bit quicker. But once we get something working on LinkedIn, we can literally duplicate the exact same thing with a few tweaks and get it to perform on email really quick.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. And it's interesting because they're very similar channels, but different. But as you mentioned, what works on LinkedIn, 95% of the time works really well in email, as you mentioned, with a few small tweaks. So again, there's a lot of testing that happens up front. And this is not a get rich quick strategy that we're sharing with you all. We're sharing how do you scale your lead flow in a way that is reliable, predictable, and allows you to have that consistency. So yes, it is going to be work up front, but through testing and through actually going through the process that we're sharing, you're for sure going to get results. So I want to qualify that. And that takes us into step 2 of generating leads through direct outreach, which is messaging. Okay. And a lot of people get stuck on the messaging. So I want to give you a really simple framework that you can actually implement today, regardless of your offer, your industry, your ideal client. You can customize this formula that I'm about to give you in a way that fits. And of course, you're going to test. We always recommend that you A/B test. And what A/B test simply means is test 2 different types of messaging to the same audience and see which one they resonate with the most. See which one gets you the most leads, the most booked calls, and then you can double down on the one that works the best.
Yeah, I love that. I think the biggest thing that, as you're listening to this, a lot of people come to us with really bad assumptions about how good outreach works.
Yeah.
And the first bad assumption, and you've really got to check yourself on this, is to never think, how would I respond to a message? Ever. Because the moment you are creating messages to get a response, you are going to analyze that much different than somebody that gets this message and they're not even thinking about it. So do not think about messaging of how would I respond to a message. You got to look at this differently, because I promise you, if you start looking at it that way, you're going to create this, well, I want a very conversational and very approachable. And the data shows that the conversational stuff does not work, because a busy, high value owner, prospect, CEO, whoever your client is, they've got a lot going on. And unless you speak quickly and directly to the problem that they are dealing with, that they are dealing with it and how your solution can solve it, you're not going to cut through the noise. And I think the biggest mistake, people come in like, well, I would never respond to a salesy message like that. And it works. And the data shows over and over and over again. So what we're about to share here and go through here, I just want you to be very open-minded that the data shows, having done over 100 million reach outs over the last 6 years, we collect data on everything, and the data shows being very direct works every time. So just if you start hearing anything like, well, I would never respond to a message like that, that's a very common thing that we hear from people that are not experienced marketers. They're not experienced with lead generation. And anytime that somebody has held their ground on not changing their mind on this, they never get results. The reason why I'm overemphasizing this here is because I want you to get results. If you're listening to this, you're hungry to grow your business. And I just don't want you to miss this next part or check out this next part, because it is going to work really, really well if you follow the strategy that we've built.
Yes, so good. So here's the formula that you can use for really good messaging for direct outreach. You start with a pain point question. You then relate it to what else is happening in the market. You then position an outcome, what you're going to help the client achieve, with a success story, and you end with a call to action. So here's it in an example. Say, for example, I am a marketing agency that helps real estate agents get leads. I'm going to start with the pain question. Are you seeing a decrease in the number of leads reaching out for your service? If I'm a real estate agent that's facing that, that's going to resonate with me because it's a pain point. It's a problem. Second, I'm going to relate it to what else is happening in the market or other people that are facing the same thing. So I could say, other real estate agents in your space are getting tumbled by the ever-evolving changes of social media algorithms and search engines. So now what I've done is I've listed the pain point. I've related it to something that's happening in the market to show this person, hey, you're not alone. Other people are facing this issue as well. Then I'm going to go into the outcome, the ideal outcome that they want. And I'm going to add in either a success story or a way that I can help them achieve that outcome. So it could be maybe it's a real life example. Maybe it's results that I've helped my client achieve. So it could read something like, we recently helped a real estate agent in your space wake up to a calendar filled with 3 to 5 prospects daily for the last month. So they never have to worry about where their next lead is coming from. So I painted the outcome with a success story or with a way that I can help them. Then I'm going to end with a call to action. If you're open to seeing what this looks like, happy to carve out some time to show you what day and time works best. So again, that formula is the pain point question. You're going to relate it to what is happening in the industry right now. You're going to offer them the ideal outcome that this prospect wants and add in a success story or a testimonial if you can in that space. Metrics, if you can qualify as much as possible, that's great. And then end with a call to action. If you use this formula, ladies and gents, it is going to 10x the results that you get from your direct outreach, period. Yeah. Because the majority of messages that are out there are, hey, I do social media, search engine optimization, websites. I do all these lovely things. Do you need any of them, or do you want to get on a call to discuss? Or there's a lot of networking type of messages out there. But if you can cut through the noise with a message that focuses on the pain, it shows them clearly how you can help them get to their ideal outcome with a very clear call to action to get on a call, you are for sure going to get people saying yes to your outreach messages.
And I want to hear your thoughts on some mistakes that people make. I think one of the big mistakes that people make, and if you take this exact formula, a potential mistake that they're going to make is they're going to make the copy or the writing, the messaging, they're going to make it too long. Or they're going to bunch it up into one big paragraph. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on other mistakes people make, but I think what's really important here is less is more.
Yes.
It's the great sales and marketing is all about being able to get to the problem with just a few words, right? Talk about the market with just a few words. It's like every single word should have a purpose, and every single word should get the person to want to read the next word, and every sentence, the next sentence. And so making sure how can you do this formula? Like if you literally just come back and transcribe exactly what Cindy said, it should be about that length.
Yes. It's really short, very punchy, to the point. Absolutely.
And formatted almost like you would see like I'm not on Twitter recently. I know like there's a bunch of different things, but I just remember I always told people, like, you've got to see this like a Twitter feed. Like, it's got to be just line by line scannable. And when we do copy, it's really, it's something that if somebody skims your message, which most people will, you want them to be able to get the point of each line. And so you almost do like a line, because you want the people that read it in depth, and the skimmers, I'm a skimmer. If I see something, I skim it. You want to be able to have it so simple and so formatted that even a skimmer will get the pain, the industry, the outcome, and the call to action in a moment's notice. So that's a really big thing that I see people make a mistake on. What are some other common mistakes that you see with messaging, Cindy?
Yeah, it's like the same things that you mentioned. It's writing too much, not focusing on a pain point or even a big outcome, focusing too much on themselves and how awesome their product, their service, their business is, and not on how can you help the person reading the message.
We do this, I've been this, and really focused on like yourself versus the prospect.
Yes. Those are some common mistakes. But if you just follow that framework that we mentioned, and of course there's hundreds of other frameworks that work really well in direct messaging. We want to keep it really simple for you all. If you follow those 4-step framework that we laid out, your messaging is going to produce, and it's going to produce every time.
Wow. Well, what would you say to the person? I just keep thinking about, we've worked with so many clients. I know what some people are going to be thinking. What would you say to the person that's like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to take like 70% of the idea, but I also want to do this other thing here. I'm kind of take little bits and pieces from that and then do my own thing as well here. What would you say to the person that would be like, okay, well, I like that kind of, sort of, but I want to do this thing to it. I don't want to do the direct call to action. I want to make it more networky, or I don't want to focus on the outcome. That's too salesy. What would you say to somebody that wants to take one of the components out and do it a little bit more relationally, or, a little bit more networky?
Yeah, I would say this. In the first episode, and you go back to listen to this, we spoke about the 90-10 rule. 90% of it is the process, 10% of it is how you customize. So you should follow this to a T. That's the 90% of the framework and the outcome. And specifically what you are customizing is the nuances of every step to make it relatable to your ideal client, right? And this framework is based on, millions of data points that we have put out, millions of outreach messages, and we know what works. So I would follow a proven step, follow a proven process, and then make tweaks and adjustments based on data and based on feedback, and not on how you feel. Because that's ultimately where people make the most mistakes in marketing campaigns, right? As you mentioned in the beginning, we want to create messaging and do marketing campaigns based on how we feel, but how we should approach it is based on the data and based on what the market is saying and what we know works based on proven data points. So, you could kind of take it, but you're probably not going to see the results that are possible versus if you just follow it to a T. And I know the people that are listening to this, they want to dominate, they want to win. Following a proven process is the way to go.
I love that. So the episode 1 of this 5-part series, 90-10 rule, that framework is the 90. Don't mess with that. The 10% is insert your customer's problem and your outcome and your testimony and your solution.
Exactly.
I love that. So the very first step in this process is getting your target pool or pools, because we have some assumptions and we're going to really refine this over time. Step 2 is creating a messaging that's short, it's potent, it's focused on a problem that we solve, an outcome we can produce, and based on some results we've actually gotten for other clients. Where do we go from here? How do we scale this? How do we make this something that we can replicate and ultimately not be reliant on us to get in the nitty-gritty on?
So step 3 is creating a repeatable process that will allow you to generate leads week over week and month over month, right? You can only scale as much as you have the systems and the processes to scale. Okay. So with this, you have the target pool, you have the messaging. As you start to put this out, you start to send the messages to this target pool. Maybe it's through LinkedIn or you're emailing them this message. You're going to start to get data. You're going to start to get leads, booked calls. You want to start to track that, and you want to put it into a process or a system that can be repeated. Because ultimately, if you have your data points and you have this system where, I reach out to 100 people, I send 90% of them this message, I get 5 leads and say it's 3 booked calls, You know that if you reach out to another 100 people, you're going to get those same metrics, another 100 people, same
I love
metrics.
that.
So it starts to become a process that you can repeat. Okay. And with this repeatable process, it allows you to ultimately scale your lead flow, right? During months when, say, it's December and people are busy, you still have that reliability and predictability on how to scale.
Yeah.
So you need to create a process for yourself and for your team that you can reliably reach out to 100 people to get 3 booked calls, or however the math makes sense for you as you start to do the testing. And at first, it might be you doing the reach outs. At first, you might implement some software that's going to send out the messages and you're going to respond. But ultimately, we want to create a system that we can have somebody take over it. Maybe it's a virtual assistant or somebody on your team that can do the reach outs to then book the calls on the sales team's calendar. So you have to have a repeatable process and you have to execute on this process consistently. Because we'll see some people do it for a month or 2, they're getting results, they're getting leads, and then they stop. And of course, what's going to happen with your lead flow? It's going to be up and down. So how do you create a system that you can reliably reach out to, say it's 10,000 people every month over month, and get the same outcome? Because that's how you actually have consistency and reliability in your lead flow.
So that's like systems, software, people, processes, SOPs, getting people that can execute on this for you. When somebody's super in the weeds here, but somebody responds to that message you're sending out. So maybe you have a software that automates the outreach initially. When somebody responds, you're going to have a person, do the back and forth. If they say, can I get some more info? We want to have that message pre-created. That's a system. Somebody says, no, thanks. We actually have really good responses to that. If somebody says, hey, I'm already using somebody else, or send me, let's do a meeting, or whatever the different conversation trees, as we call it, whatever branch logic happens there, you want to literally have an SOP laid out, a document that says, here's how to respond to all these processes. So you can now go out and hire a setter, which we do for a lot of clients. We build a system out and we hire setters for them. That person can get the same outcomes as long as they follow the process. So now it's just a matter of, if your process is so dialed in, now you just train somebody and you keep them accountable. And our internal processes are so dialed in. If we see results dip, all we have to do is dive in to see was somebody truly following the SOP. And 9 times out of 10, the person actually was skipping some stuff on the SOP on the process.
Yes, absolutely. So SOP, standard operating procedure, for those that don't know, essentially just a document that lays out the entire process that somebody would go through, whether it's in a certain role or for a certain process. But absolutely, essentially, you want to have a repeatable system and a process that's going to take some refinement up front, right? You're going to be the one that's learning the process. You're going to be the one that's creating the messaging, potentially creating if somebody says more information, what do we say? But it's going to get to a point where, when somebody says more info, this is what we send them, and this gets us the booked call. You're going to create a system and a process that is scalable. So ultimately, you can only scale when there is a process in place. If it was me and I was starting from scratch, I would tell somebody on my team to reach out to 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 people every month, and I would refine the system and the process. And then I'd know next month I'm going to do the same thing, or how can we reach out to more people, right? Because that's ultimately going to allow you to have consistent lead flow month over month, which is the goal. This
is really, really good. This is really fire. Now we do have resources on the more nitty gritty of how to do the campaigns, the outreaches. But I want you to see the information you're getting here is incredibly valuable. These are things that we've really dialed in over the years. Really good. So now we have the right pool. We have solid messaging that will cut through the noise. And that framework you gave will work.
Yes.
If you're 90-10ing it, 90% follow the process, 10% tweaking it for your business, it absolutely will work. And now we are talking about having the right processes in place. I said SOP. I didn't know what SOP was, not that long ago too. So standard operating procedure, which is a Google Doc that you say step 1 is, step 2 is, step 3 is, step 4 is. So the process is to get a job done. And now we have a whole asset in our business of now we have a lead generation process that can magnetize lead to us, can create consistency. We can turn it up, we can turn it down. And this is what's allowed us, at least the last 3 years, every December has been our best month because we have so much input output. We know how to keep growing. And our industry's not like, well, yeah, that's probably your industry, my industry. Our industry shuts down.
Yes.
Like our prospects say, wait to the new year. They start saying that in November. Mm-hmm. And so our industry shuts down, but we've been able to have our biggest months for the last 3 years straight in December because we have such predictable processes to generate leads and clients.
Yes, so good. And as we're talking about, the whole goal of this series is to help you scale your business to the point where you can remove yourself. And very often I see business owners, when it comes to the leads, they're focused so much on getting referrals. And trust me, we're going to talk about referrals in I think it's part 3 of our formula, where we talk about adding lifetime value, infinite referral system. We're not talking about referrals up front. We're talking about how to go out into the market, your entire pool of potential prospects, how to magnetize them to your business, people that don't yet know you, they don't yet know about your product or service, they don't yet know that you exist, how to magnetize those people into your business. Because if you can go out into the market and get leads, that is how you create not only a reliable, a sustainable, but a scalable business that can run and grow without you ultimately. So I want to hyper emphasize that this is going out into the market and getting people interested in your product or service, not waiting for somebody to refer new business to you, which we'll talk about, we promise, but this is not step 1.
Yeah, 100%. And that is a very predictable process. When you talk about the infinite referral, when you have front end clients coming in, the infinite referral process is very systematized. It's not relying on people to send things your way. It's not relying on the market or like I hope I get a referral somewhere from something. It's a very proven process. But I love what you said there. That's not step 1. A lot of times that's where people start though. So that's why I'm really thankful that we're bringing clarity to this, because I think it's going to save. There's people listening right now. They're going to look back on this series and they're going to say, that literally saved me 3 years. Or another way to look at it is that advanced my company growth by 3 years.
So good.
By not having to learn these things along the way, but getting the right foundation from the get-go. Because I know for us, that would have propelled us. Having these pieces would have propelled us insanely fast.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. So that's it. Again, this is part 2 in a 5-part series on how to grow and scale a business that can ultimately run without you.
Yes.
It could run and grow without you, and you could literally sell this thing, whether you ever want to sell your business or not. That's a different story. But imagine having a business that runs so well that somebody else would buy it from you because it doesn't need you to run and grow. And so this is part 2. This is how to generate leads. Make sure as we release part 3, 4, and 5, make sure to stay tuned. If you're listening on audio, make sure to click that subscribe button so you get a notification the moment that next one comes out. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure to join in on the comments. We are very active in the comments, so any questions you have, we want to make sure we answer them for you. Again, this is Tim and Cindy with The Takeover, and remember, domination is not a destination, it is a way of life. Stay winning.